Hey, everybody, welcome to Drunkard's Walk, the podcast. My name is Matt Hartman. I am one of the hosts of Drunkard's Walk, and if you've never listened before, it's nice to meet you. But if you have listened before, then you already knew all of that I'm telling you, and you know who else is here co-hosting this particular Drunkard's Walk and all the Drunkard's Walks. It's my good buddy, Jethro Nolan.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for listening. And Matt, thank you for that concise summary of the current state of affairs on the podcast. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. No problem. I mean, it is always good to see you. It's always good to be on the podcast with you. And yeah, man, because I mean, I've had a crazy week since last week.
I was hoping that you would share a recent adventure with us, as has been your habit for the last 14 weeks or so.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy, Jethro. See, so here's the thing. I last weekend I really wanted to go out and do something, but my parents made me stay home and babysit my little brother because I have a little baby brother. Yeah.
Oh boy.
And it was really like he kept crying and he wouldn't be quiet, and I just wish that he would just be gone. And then he was gone, Jethro, and it turns out, he was taken, not Liam Neeson style, but instead more David Bowie style.
Wow, really?
Because the Goblin King stole my little brother, and I eventually had to work my way through this giant
maze.
Like a maze. And find my little brother and get him out. And don't worry, I did.
I'm so glad that you were able to save him. Now, it's curious that you threw the name David Bowie out there. Any particular reason?
Oh, this guy just had very David Bowie vibes to him. You know what I mean? Like he just felt like a David Bowie type of goblin. You know what I'm saying? Like
there we go.
Something about his face or his hair or I don't know, the very, very tight pants he was wearing. I'm not sure what it was that made me think David Bowie, but that's the vibe I was getting.
Goblins do love a tight pant.
Sure they do. And who can blame them?
Indeed.
What with the state of the world and everything.
Indeed. Well, those sure sound like some very exciting adventures in babysitting that you had there.
No, okay. Well, they were. Yes, they were. I'll just accept it and move on.
Good deal.
Because I want to remind the loyal listeners out there about what we do on this podcast, and that is to travel from one topic in Wikipedia to another topic in Wikipedia. But we don't do it just willy-nilly. We don't do it hodgepodgely. We don't just search around and type stuff in. No, we use the links provided on the pages.
That's right. Do you know what the Latin term for willy-nilly is?
I don't.
It is volens nolens.
No.
Yes, it is. I'm not making that up. It is volens nolens is the Latin term for willy-nilly.
No,
I'm sorry, nolens volens.
Now, did you know this before, or did you just look this up?
No, I've known that. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but my last name is Nolan.
Wait, your last name is? I thought Jethro Nolan was your first name.
No. What did you think my last name was?
Just Rodriguez, I assume.
That's wrong on so many.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I'd heard it said around you before.
So I guess it's Nolan's volens.
Okay.
According to Merriam-Webster here, but that is willing or unwilling, or unwilling or willing, like it or not.
Okay. Nolan's volens. Well, I'll start using that around my Latin friends then.
There you go. You do that.
See, this is why I thought your last name was Rodriguez. I think it makes perfect sense.
Because of all your Latin friends?
Yeah.
Badum.
Thank you.
The ethnic humor stylings of Matt Hartman.
Isn't that what it... I don't know what things are.
For anybody out there who's booking like an office entertainment party in the 1950s, and you want the wry ethnic observations
of
a bunch of middle-aged white guys, Drunkard's Walk is available for your entertainment function.
You know, though, Jethro, these days, I'd probably get in trouble for something like that from like the HR department. the human resources department. And the reason I know that, Jethro, is because...
How do you know that?
I grew up in a household with an HR specialist, an HR manager, an HR consultant, an HR guru, if you will, here in the city of Pittsburgh, none other than my mother, Phyllis Hartman. And you know what? She's here now to give us a topic for our destination.
What an incredible segue that was. Welcome, Phyllis Hartman. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very pleased to be here. And if you have any, HR questions, that's what I do.
So let me ask you a question.
Oh, no.
I have a Drunkard's Walk does not officially have an HR department, so I guess we'll have to use you. But so you are, I'm guessing, older than Matt since you're his mom.
Yeah.
That's
true.
I know that HR has gone through some evolution. Like when you started in HR, did it used to be called personnel?
Yes, I belonged to the Pittsburgh Personnel Association at the time.
Okay.
And when I was president of the association, that's when we changed our name to the Pittsburgh HR Association. So
very good. Very good.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. It used to be personnel, but it evolved.
Huh.
Thank God.
Why is that such a big deal? Like, why is that not a good term, personnel?
Well, it basically it was an old-fashioned term, and it focused on mostly it was people in HR in the beginning or in personnel. Basically, all they did was figure out what to pay people and what benefits to offer. Mm-hmm. And human resource management is a lot broader than that. We do a lot of things related to helping people find jobs, keep jobs, be happy in jobs. Sometimes be sad in jobs, but
why would you try to do that?
If we ask them to move on.
If you're offboarding people,
yes, offboarding people. Yes.
I see, offboarding. I'm offboarding people myself.
We call it involuntary termination.
There you go.
I see. Oh no, I'm off-boring people. That's the difference.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna comment.
So you're my mom. So we don't really have to talk too much about how we know each other. We met 40-ish years ago.
Yeah.
And we've had a pretty good relationship ever since, I would say.
I think so. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you, Mom. I mean, we already said that you do HR is in your career. What do you do for your hobbies? What do you do in your spare time?
Well, I like to go walking. I like to travel. I like to. I'm a bird watcher, an animal lover, and then I do some writing. I write articles, and I've written a couple of books, HR books. But so I do that, and I'm kind of a jigsaw puzzle freak. There was always a jigsaw puzzle on the table in our living room.
Very nice.
That's true. It's the same one for about the past 15 years, though. So I just figured weren't really interested.
No.
Oh, it's not the same one. Okay, it's tough to tell when it's in pieces. I don't know what it is.
You usually see it when it's in pieces. So.
That's true. I do. Yes, I do.
Yes. But just kind of those kind of things. I like to read.
There you go. Well,
excellent.
It's great to have you here. I appreciate you coming on. We had Dad on a couple seasons ago. He gave us the Hawk's Nest Tunnel disaster.
I know.
As our destination. And
comedy gold.
Yeah. We've had some other family members on. Just last week, Jethro's dad was on. You folks can see we keep up the nepotism. We love it here.
We really do.
But why don't you tell us a little bit about, do you have a topic for us to venture off to?
I have a topic. And my topic is the IBM 650.
Oh boy. The IBM 650. Okay. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about why this is a thing.
Well, I chose the IBM 650 because it was a computer that your grandfather, my dad, worked on. And it's one that I actually kind of remember. When I was young, occasionally he would take me to work with him. And this was in the early days of computers, and he would let me play with the key punch machine because they used to punch little cards to program machines.
Okay.
And they also did wiring. He would bring home the wiring boards with the colorful wires, and we would use them like We would make little houses and things out of them. So I
Okay.
had very early exposure to computers, like in the 50s.
Oh, wow. So we're not talking like a personal computer that sits on one's desk. We're talking like a computer that fills up a room, a building?
Pretty much filled up a room. Yeah,
room?
yeah. The interesting thing was my dad passed away when I was 15. He was 50.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember he and I were quite close, and I remember talking to him about computers and what he thought of them. And he was kind of like one of the early computer experts in the city. And he used to talk about someday a computer will be small enough to fit on your desk.
Oh.
And I thought that was kind of fascinating because obviously it happened.
Yeah.
But he enjoyed computers very much. He in World War II, he was on a ship as a communications guy. He did he was Sparks. He was the guy that sent the messages, and they had to learn how to do wiring because they had to wire the radios and things. And so when he got out of the Army, he got a job doing something related to wiring in a sense. And he was a machine accountant. Oh. He actually belonged to the National Machine Accountants Association.
Okay.
And the 650 was a machine I remember. I remember seeing it. I remember he programmed, I don't know how he did this, but somehow he programmed it so that he could play tic-tac-toe with it. Nice. And if he won, if the computer won, there were two red lights that would blink off and on. And if the computer lost, there were rows of green lights that would go off and on. So it was like it was crying or was laughing. Oh. And I remember he set the computer up to do that and let me push buttons and things. So it was very impressive for a young kid.
Sure. Yeah, it sounds.
So since I think this show may be somewhere around Father's Day, and I was thinking about him and wondering about the IBM 650. So I looked it up on Wikipedia, and sure enough, it's there.
Very nice.
You'll be glad to hear.
Around what year was the 650 out?
It was the mid 50s. It was around 53 or 54 when they released them. Okay. And in reading about it, it was one of the first. It was really the first largely commercial available computer. Oh. There were 2,000 of them built between the 50s and I think the late 60s. He passed away in 64, so I don't know about after that. But it was one of the first ones that they, a whole lot of companies bought them, and he worked on them at Jones and Laughlin Steel and at Pittsburgh National Bank when he worked there, Pittsburgh PNC now. Mm-hmm. So it was one of the first big computers. What I found interesting about it was on the Wikipedia page, I don't want to tell you, I can't tell you too much, can I?
Tell us as much as you'd like.
Tell us whatever you want. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Well, it was referred to as a magnetic drum calculator.
Oh,
okay.
Which is a term I'd never heard before, but it was used. It was used to process data about orders and payroll and all of those kind of things. So it was one of the early, widely sold computers, but it did fill a whole room. Wow. I remember it was a very large thing, and it was programmed using key punch technology. Yeah. And then I think they used some kind of magnetic tapes too at some point.
Well, very cool. I mean, if it was called a magnetic calculator or some kind of magnetic drum calculator, you would think there's probably some kind of magnetic tape in there. But
so it was a digital computer rather than an analog computer.
Huh.
One of the early digitals.
Well, that is amazing. I have never heard of this particular computer. I had heard the stories of my grandfather working on large computers like that, but I did not know of the IBM 650 by name. So that will be a very interesting thing for us to try to get to from green eggs and ham, which is where we're starting. So,
oh my,
we'll see what kind of connections we can find through there. But before you go, we walk. Sometimes we drink. Are you having a drink tonight, Mom?
As a matter of fact, I am. I'm having a Guinness.
Oh.
But this is the new zero alcohol Guinness.
Oh. What do you think of that?
I like it a lot. It's amazing. It tastes just like a regular Guinness. And I'm, trying to delete some of the alcohol habit I established during the pandemic.
I see.
So
that's a wise thing to do. I agree with you. It's pretty good. I'm drinking one also right now. As a matter of fact, we didn't know that we had done that before we got on the call here.
You introduced it to your dad. You gave him one a couple of weeks ago, and you just gave him the glass and said, so how is that? And he said, oh, it's great. And didn't realize it was no alcohol.
Yeah, so. I tricked him because I wanted to see if he would be able to tell or not. Because when I got it, I had to try. I love these non-alcohol beers because I think that they're fascinating, and I always want to find one that actually tastes like beer. This one does. This one tastes like a Guinness. I don't understand how they did it, but they did it. So good on Guinness for creating this non-alcoholic beer that actually tastes good and is enjoyable to drink. Now, it is not quite as low calorie as some of the other ones. Some of them are like 10 calories. This is like 60. And the carbs are high.
Still a lot lower than the regular Guinness.
Yeah. Jethro, sorry, the carbs are high on this, 13.5. So.
I'm going to have to leave the podcast right now.
Yeah, I know. You can't have that many near you. But are you imbibing this evening, Jethro?
I am, in fact. And I didn't get the memo about the no alcohol.
No, well.
Although, so I'm having white wine with ice in it because that's how bougie I am.
Sure.
My wife was running an errand tonight. I was like, hey, can you pick up some white wine? And so she picked up a classy box of wine, but we didn't have time to get it cold. So I put ice in it because that is
that's how you do
the level of commitment I have to consuming alcohol during this podcast.
Well, and warm white wine is just not good.
It is. It resembles something that I won't mention because Matt's mom is present.
Oh, that's nice of you. Even though she seems to know what you're talking about, and I have no idea because I don't drink wine. So there you go.
Urine. I was referencing urine.
Thanks.
Sorry. There we go.
We all figured it out.
Now the mystery is solved.
Well, Mom, thank you very much for coming on, for giving us this topic suggestion of the IBM 650. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being on here, and happy belated Mother's Day. This is we're right here at the end of May, so we're right between Mother's Day and Father's Day. So happy belated Mother's Day to you, and
thank you.
I'll see you again soon.
Yeah,
I probably won't, but I appreciate you coming on.
No, well, hopefully sometime, Joseph.
Absolutely.
You guys take care. Have fun traveling.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So very interesting, this one, because your mother gave the suggestion, and your mother mentioned that her father passed when she was quite young, which is also true of my mother. My mother's father passed when she was, I think, in college, so around 63. But also my father, for his entire adult life, worked for IBM.
Oh,
so that is a connection that I have to the story your mom was telling through both of my parents. So
wow, well, there
resonated
you go.
very much.
Yeah, that's something else. I love it. That's I love connections. That's why I do this show. So
there we go.
If there were links, if we had pages, we would be able to link them together very easily.
It's unlikely that my dad has a page on Wikipedia.
Yeah. Well, you say unlikely, but you haven't looked yet, so maybe.
That's fair. That's fair.
We need to establish our guesses, though, as to how many links it will take us to get from Green Eggs and Ham to the IBM 650. So I implore you to write down a number.
I've already done so.
On your you have?
Well, first of all, I've written down like several numbers. A random assortment of 3 through 20, just so I can grab the one that's most likely to have won.
That's not fair. Don't do that again. Stop doing that. Would you stop
Listen,
doing that, please?
I'm here for the entertainment, not for the victory.
Is that what it is? Oh, okay. Well, then why would you? Okay. All right. Well, let's venture off then, man. I've written down my number as well. Let's see if we can find a way to get to computers from Dr. Zeus's book here, Green Eggs and Ham.
I mean, I feel like Seuss has got to let that go. I mean, he's let it all go because he's no longer with us. But
true enough.
I feel like the ship has sailed on.
I just wanted to bring
controlling the. I appreciate the callback, but
I wanted people to be confused, and then I was going to say you should go back and listen to last week's episode, and then that would get them hooked, right? Then they'd listen in reverse order to all the episodes.
I had a very frustrating naming thing. So my wife and I are considering doing some painting in the house.
Oh, I see.
And I don't know if you've ever experienced the joy of reading the names that the paint manufacturers have for the various paint colors.
I have actually, yeah.
So a paint color that is very popular now is sort of halfway between gray and beige. Ugh. And the spelling of first of all, correct response. Second of all, the spelling of this paint color is Greige, which again is a combination of the words gray and beige.
So it's greige.
You'd think that.
Yeah, I would.
You'd think that because both gray and beige have the long A vowel sound.
Right.
We were at the Home Depot today and the Bear representative was there.
Oh, no.
And because my wife had been pronouncing it in a different way. And so we asked the Bear representative, like, how do you pronounce this color name? Sure. But when he says greige, and I'm like, how does that make zero sense? Because it's from gray and beige.
Yeah.
And it's an abomination.
This is terrible now in every way. Like there's nothing that saves this thing.
Nothing at all. So we decided to burn the house down.
Oh, well, well, I don't know if that was the best choice to make, but yeah, I like that you made a choice and you committed to it. And that's the important thing.
Well, by the way, we need to hurry up because I did light the fire in the basement before we started taping this episode.
Oh, gosh. I don't know that you're going to make it, man.
If I have to run off very quickly. That's
okay. Well, we'll know why, I guess. So I'm looking through this page here while you're going on and on about greige, and I am noticing a couple of things that I feel like I didn't mean that the way it sounded.
That sounded very pejorative.
Sorry. I didn't mean for it to.
That's okay. That's okay.
There are a couple things in here that I find interesting that I think are potential ways out of here. One, and this is my least favorite one, is the ISBN. The International Standard Book Number is linked here. So the actual ISBN for this book is here, as is the link for International Standard Book Number. So
I like it.
One of the reasons I like that is because, it's computer and scanning, and it's a very antiquated way of doing things, but we still do it. It's the little on the UPC code there and whatnot. The other things I noticed, though, that might be interesting are Netflix, which is also a kind of computery type thing, and the Game Boy Advance is on here. And the Game Boy Advance is literally a computer. So that probably, to me, is the best route out. There are a couple other things down in the bottom that might be interesting, like eggnog or Fabergé egg or egging. But they're only interesting because I want to see what their pages are all about. They're not going to help us in any way.
So that's certainly interesting. And it is an enticing possibility. But there are a couple of reasons I don't like those, and I will elucidate them now.
You don't like any of those?
So Netflix is like, the IBM 650 was super like caveman type computer from the 50s. Netflix didn't make sense until 2013 or whatever.
I agree.
And the Game Boy, again, probably 1980s, 1990s. So the level of computing sophistication was quite high by the time those came around.
Yeah, okay. But you're thinking very much about the actual device versus what's going to be on a Wikipedia page about it, right? Like there's going to be stuff on a Game Boy Advance Wikipedia page about computer game or computing or computer, right? I mean, those types of words, and even if it's not specifically that, maybe video game, right? You're getting your way there to compute.
I don't doubt that there is a path that goes through those. I just don't think it's a very efficient one.
All right. So what do you suggest instead?
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So in the 1950s, when computers were very large and very expensive,
yes,
and by today's standards, very slow,
sure,
who could afford to buy them? Who was buying the IBM 650 en masse?
I mean, corporations, companies.
Anybody else?
No.
Any other large organizations that have really big budgets that you can think of?
No, it was only publicly traded companies. That was it. They were the only ones using computers. Nobody else was using a computer.
I feel like you're being sarcastic with your firmness.
I'm not being sarcastic. I'm just being obstinate and on purpose.
Okay, so I think that the federal government,
The
and
who?
you heard me. Oh, great. Libertarian Matt Hartman, who
Yeah,
refuses
me.
to acknowledge the existence of the federal government, comes
That's
back.
me.
Well, I think the federal government was likely huge purchasers of early computer technology and early adopters.
Yeah.
And so there might be a federal government agency through which we can get to this early computer.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, and I see a couple on here. I see the NEA. Oh, they're not actually. Oh, are they government or are they an NGO?
They are a labor union.
They are
of the teachers.
Union. Okay,
so
yeah. So
they would be the ones who are negotiating with the Department of Education.
I guess I see the United States Senate on here.
They're there. There's also a link to the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, which touches many parts of the government, including I virtually guarantee the IRS.
Yeah.
Which, if I think of like who could have used computers earliest and fastest, like obviously the Department of Defense is up there, but also the IRS in terms of like they are doing like straightforward data processing at a very high scale, or something like the Social Security Administration, like all of these things that process vast amounts of data at scale, I think would be very early adopters of early computer technology.
I see.
And could get us there in that way.
So you believe, just to be clear, that going through an actual computer like the Game Boy Advance is going to be too long of a path, but going through a government agency that probably used a computer is a better path? I mean, why do you think that on their Wikipedia page is going to talk about the computers that they've used?
I think that it's likely going to talk about the history of the organization. And part of the history of the organization is the growth in the efficacy and efficiency with which they process data.
Huh. Well, I mean, I guess that's fair.
Whereas I think like a Game Boy or something, like the Game Boy is certainly not going to have anything on there about the history of computing. You'd have to go another link or two to get to that. And then we've eaten up a couple links.
All right. Well, I think you're going to have to go another link or two through these things that you're talking about as well. But I do think it would be faster to go through the Game Boy. But I am willing to give this a try.
I'm willing to give Game Boy a try.
Depending on which one you want to pick. So which of these things do you think is the one that you would want to go through? So
the problem with the United States Senate is it is in the legislative branch, which is not known for its efficiency.
Right, correct.
I think the executive
still
branch
not using computers.
The executive branch agencies actually have to do things. So I think Obamacare gets us, just because Obamacare touches so many different parts of the federal government, that opens up basically any large federal agency that we would want to go through. All right. As linked through there.
I am willing to go to it, so let's do it.
All right. I love it. So Obamacare is the link which takes you to the Affordable Care Act. And fun fact, Matt Hartman.
Yeah.
If you poll people as to whether or not they like Obamacare,
yeah,
and then you poll people as to whether or not they like the Affordable Care Act,
yeah,
the Affordable Care Act polls much better.
No.
Even though they're the exact same thing.
I can't imagine why.
Exactly. There we go.
So here's the reason that I decided that this would be an okay thing to come to. And that is because, as I recall, there are some pretty serious things that happened with Obamacare and the website that Obamacare had in order for people to sign up. And my hope is that there will be some sort of link to computing straight off of this page because of that, and not have to get through into the IRS or things along those lines.
Yeah, but the problem with that perspective is that, like, you're talking about like an internet. So yes, you're absolutely correct in that there were some scaling issues that the federal marketplace had early on.
Yes.
Which was a big PR disaster when it came out. But it's still an internet-based technology, and so you're facing the same problem that you're facing with Game Boy in terms of, we have to go to computer, and then we have to go to IBM, and then we have to go to IBM 650.
So I disagree in some way here, because the internet is kind of is kind of the child of Department of Defense networked computer system, right? So I think that internet, DARPA was involved for sure. I don't think that it was exclusively DARPA that worked on it, but anyway, I think there's a quicker path to old style computing through internet, or the actual history of the internet, than there is through something like a Game Boy. That's just, and I don't know, I haven't looked at it, but that's my guess. I'm not seeing anything about the internet on here yet anyway, so I might not even matter. Because I'm not seeing anything on here that looks anything at all related to computers.
It's a fairly long page.
It is, and I'm not even close to halfway through it. So, there's plenty of time for me. I see MIT is on here.
That's exciting.
That is exciting. MIT might be a good.
Do you want to talk about your puzzle hunt experience?
I wasn't going to bring it up. I wasn't going to bring it up. But I do think that it is a place where development of things like computers was done. So I think
this is true.
I think there's a good chance that would definitely have a link to computing and the beginnings of computing, or computers, not computing. I mean, computing obviously started thousands of years ago, but computers. And more specifically, these types of computers. I guess even there's things that are computers that are way, way older, right? An abacus is technically a computer, right?
That is true. Well, not on its own. It is a tool used. Yes. It requires a human brain and presumably fingers to function as a computer.
And in fact, the human is the computer, right? Because they're actually doing the computing. Is that correct? Is that how they do that? Am I just totally messing everything up here?
I mean, I feel like every label has its porous boundaries, and we artificially cling to the illusion of real boundaries, when in fact all life is just energy on a continuum.
Oof, man, that got deep fast.
Well, I did take several tabs of acid before the evening began.
Oh, okay, so that makes a lot of sense. Right, when you started the fire, I'm assuming.
That's right. Yeah. I was like, what's gonna make watching my own house burn really cool? Yeah. Being high on acid.
That's it. That was gonna do it.
Kids, do drugs. That's what I'm saying. Do drugs. Maddie, if you're listening, do a lot of drugs. Just kidding. I know my daughter does not listen to this podcast.
That's what you're kidding about? Okay.
So it's interesting. Do the right amount of drugs, I guess. Know your limits.
All right. Stop talking. Stop pushing. What I'm noticing here is that this page starts out with a ton of links in it, and then it gets into this middle part where there are just no links for paragraph after paragraph. Oh,
it's a long page. It's a long page.
Very long page. It's a very, very long page. This page might be longer than the Beatles page. It might be longer than the Jesus page. This is a very long page.
I will say that, and again, I say this as a fan of the Beatles and what they did. And, I feel like Jesus had his positive moments as well. Sure. I feel like the Affordable Care Act probably healed more people than the Beatles and Jesus combined.
Wow, look at that. That's a hot take.
I don't know that it is even a lukewarm, statistically, Jesus, even if you believe everything in the Bible, Jesus did a few dozen miracles? Okay, fine.
Maybe a few dozen.
Having human beings have access to health insurance, it causes them to have diseases cured and suffering lessened at scale in the modern age. So take that, Jesus and the Beatles.
Take that. Gosh, there's a link on here to the broccoli mandate.
First of all, I'm a big fan, one of my favorite bands. But I would love a broccoli mandate because I'm a big broccoli fan. Probably my favorite vegetable of all time.
Your favorite vegetable? Really? Broccoli?
I love broccoli. I really do.
You like it? You like it prepared any particular way, or do you like it raw?
I would eat it in a box. I would eat it with a fox. I would eat it with a mouse. I would. No, I like broccoli in many, many ways. My favorite is probably roasted broccoli with a little olive oil and Parmesan cheese and salt and pepper.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, you add cheese to it. I mean, come on. Everybody loves a little cheese on.
But even without the cheese, just a little olive oil and salt and pepper. I'm with you.
I'm with you. So what are you seeing here, man? Aside from, I know you probably want to take this link to Dwayne The Rock Johnson, but aside from that.
Sure. I was just looking at that. A couple paragraphs above that, if you look at the implementation section of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, which I believe is where in that sub-article you would see probably more details about the problems that they had with the website launch. There is, in fact, a link to the Internal Revenue Service here. And I would be shocked. I would be shocked if the IRS page did not have a link to some kind of technology that they use as they started to go online. And I hear your heavy sigh. I hear it. It is noted. And quite frankly, the Drunkard's Walk stenographer has taken it down.
Good. I'm glad. Where is that stenographer?
They're on a separate Zoom. They're hidden away so they don't influence us. But
that's good. That's a good idea. So here's my thing. You think that Internal Revenue Service is going to get us more quickly to old style computing than MIT? Because I agree that both would get us there. Or, well, I'm sorry, you didn't say that both would get us there. I agree that IRS would get us there.
I mean, any Wikipedia page will eventually get us there.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like IRS is going to take a while. I feel like you got to get through several more pages that MIT, you actually have the possibility of getting into it pretty quickly. In fact, the IBM 650 could be on the MIT page. I don't think it's going to be on the IRS page.
What's it worth to you?
What's it worth to me?
What's it worth to you?
It's not worth anything to me. I'm making my argument because that's what this podcast is all about.
All right, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Who do you think spends more on technology annually, MIT or the IRS?
Actually, I don't know. If you said the federal government, I would have definitely gone federal government. I'm not sure about that one. That might be a closer call.
So I have no doubt that when this new big computer came out and on board, that MIT was an earlier adopter of it.
Yes.
But I think that the federal government operates at a much larger scale.
Right.
And therefore benefits from having that computing capacity in a way that MIT would be using it for research rather than processing millions of taxpayer records.
Sure. And I'm not going to argue that the IRS didn't have one first. I'm not going to argue that the IRS didn't have more of them. What I'm arguing is that the MIT Wikipedia page has a greater chance of talking about the computers than the IRS page does.
They will talk about computing and computers. But what we're talking about here is a specific commercial product. We're not talking about abstract computation in the abstract. Which if we were, or research around it, we're talking about a commercial product. So let's take this into an entirely different realm. Let's take like a Singer sewing machine. So back to our old lock stitch days.
Yes. Yeah. Sure.
So if what we're trying to get to is a particular model Singer sewing machine,
right,
we're better off going to a place that's either like Sears that sold them in abundance, or a clothing manufacturer that would have bought them in abundance at large scale and that technology would have had a significant influence on their productivity, versus something like a research institution where that technology was developed. Because also, let's think about this. Think about all the technology that has been developed at MIT or that MIT has contributed to.
Okay.
And the IBM 650 is what percentage of that? It's a minuscule percentage, right?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So MIT's page is going to talk about a lot of different things. And one of them is going to be computing, but this particular computer represents an incredibly small fraction of their influence versus the computational power that was afforded the IRS. Like how much more efficient, how much more of a leap forward was going from pencil and paper and people to the first computers for the IRS. That had to be a tremendous, like an order of magnitude improvement for them.
I don't disagree with you. And I think that, but I do think that at MIT, these computers were used more than just for research. I think that they were actually being used to do computations because they were doing all sorts of science and engineering there.
But that's research.
Well, it's research, but it's practical research, right? It's not just theoretical research, which seems to be what you're implying. And
no.
That's how it appeared. That's how it seemed. And I guess what I'm saying is that they would have used it just as much. So here's my question to you. Do you truly in your heart believe that the IRS page is going to have a link to the IBM 650?
I don't know.
On its page. Do you think? Because if you do, then I'm willing to go there.
I think it is more likely than the MIT page having a link to the 650.
Well, here's my argument. My argument is that if the IRS page does not have a link to it directly, that getting to it is going to be more challenging than getting to it from wherever MIT would take us.
Do you think the MIT page has a link to the IBM 650?
I think it may, but again, I think that if it doesn't, the links out to where we need to go are going to get us there faster than the links out of the IRS page, unless the IRS page has this actual thing on it.
I think that the IBM page, that the MIT page is going to, I started the acid and the wine and the fire really early. So.
No, it's good. It's good. I love it.
I think that the MIT page is going to get us to abstract concepts like computing.
You don't think? I think MIT could have a link to IBM on it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I agree with that. I agree.
If it did, if you get to the IBM page, it's going to have this. This is one of the first commercially available computers, if not the first.
It's going to be on the IBM page for sure.
Right. So we're talking.
We're talking two links.
Yeah.
I think that the IRS page might have a link to it, but will definitely have a link to IBM.
You think the IRS page will definitely have a link to IBM?
100%.
All right, then I'll go with you because I can't wait to see you be wrong.
Okay, all right then. That's the gauntlet has been thrown, ladies and gentlemen.
So where are we? We're down near the bottom.
So it is in implementation.
I found
implementation.
It.
Yeah, you found it, but I'm for our listener, Matt. For our listener.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So under implementation, which is just above the broccoli mandate and the footnote section. So it's one of the last sections in the second paragraph of the implementation section. There is a link to the Internal Revenue Service, which is an agency, and forgive me if I've not made this very clear, processes a lot of data.
It does. It really does.
It does.
When did it start, Jethro?
The IRS started after the amendment to the Constitution that made income tax legal. So looks like that. The Commissioner of Internal Revenue, a federal office created in 1862 to assess the nation's first income tax to fund the American Civil War. Temporary measure provided the fifth of the Union's war expenses before being allowed to expire a decade later. In 1913, the 16th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was ratified, authorizing Congress to impose a tax on income, and the Bureau of Internal Revenue was established. In 1953, it was renamed the IRS, and subsequent decades underwent numerous reforms and reorganizations, most significantly in the 1990s.
Did you know that the first trial of a computer system for income tax processing was in 1955?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Are you by any chance, did you look at the history of the IRS webpage and click on the computerization link to take you down to that?
I did.
What? Keep reading, Matt. Keep reading. I can't wait to find out what you see.
Well, it was in 1955 when some computer was installed in Kansas City processing 1.1 million returns.
But what computer, Matt? What computer?
The IBM 650.
Yeah! Curious mind!
This is unbelievable.
I also will point out to the skeptical listener that the IRS was authorized to proceed with computerization in 1959, and there are two more different IBM models listed, the IBM 1401 and the IBM 7070.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
You know what's not linked on this page, though, Jethro? IBM. And you promised me that IBM would be linked. So I guess I'm the winner.
I think you're wrong.
No, you said that. I said IBM is definitely linked to this page. You said 100%. You were incorrect, and I got it. Hey, everybody, look, incorrect.
All right, fine. You got me there. Sorry, we went straight to our destination and not.
Boom! Gotcha.
The IBM 650 magnetic drum data processing machine is an early digital computer produced by IBM in the mid 1950s.
Yes, indeed.
You know what I am curious about?
What's that?
The Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
No, not yet, because we haven't talked about our guesses. So if we wind up being tied,
there we go.
We may have to do a runoff here, so don't be checking things out yet.
There we go.
So Jethro, this ties our shortest trip.
Get out of town
with 3 links.
It
only took us 3 links.
Amazing.
From Green Eggs and Ham to the Affordable Care Act to the IRS or Internal Revenue Service to the IBM 650. So
that is the most amazing thing that's ever happened.
3 is our number. What did you guess, Jethro?
I guessed 5.
Well, I gotcha with 4.
Oh, you bastard! You know what? If we had gone through MIT, we probably would have taken.
Well, you know what? We've got a little bit of time, Jethro. Let's find out.
Let's do it. So let's go to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology page.
Let's go back to MIT. Where is that? Oh, I'm going backwards. So I'm literally just back in Internal Revenue Service here. MIT. Where's that link to MIT? I guess you probably just searched MIT and just went straight to the page, didn't you?
That is correct.
That was smarter.
The MIT page. So the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Indeed.
Which has a lot of information here. I do see a link to IBM.
Aha, just as I said.
There you go. So the IBM International Business Machines Corporation. I do not see a link to the specific IBM 6501.
No, I do not either. The IBM 650 is not on here. So it would have definitely taken us longer because we would have then gone to IBM.
So the great irony of this is that my insistence and correctness helped you win this episode. And if I had followed your less stellar advice, it would have taken us 5. And I would have won.
Actually, no. It still would have taken us. It would have taken us 4.
All right.
We would have gone to MIT, and then from MIT we would have gone to IBM, and then from IBM.
My math was wrong because I don't have my IBM 650 working for me at the moment.
But you're assuming that the IBM 650 is linked on that page, on the IBM page.
Oh, I would be shocked if it isn't.
I don't think that it is.
What? You're kidding me.
I just did a little Control F because F is legal when you're outside of the actual run here. We've got the IBM 701, the 704, and then it just jumps up. There's the 360, the 370, but I don't see a 650 on here.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
that is so frustrating.
Yes. So I don't even know where we would have gone out of the. I mean, I guess maybe there's something at the bottom. Maybe
there's got to be like a list of IBM machines or something.
In the blue, maybe. No, I'm still not seeing it, man.
There is an IBM section here.
Yeah.
And there has to be in here a list of IBM machines somewhere, right? There's got to be. Products. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, but products. I mean, I guess you could click on the products category. Oh, list of IBM products. That's where it would have taken you to.
Where's that?
So if you click on that actual blue word that says products, it takes you to a page that is a list of the products.
Okay, and that's got to have a 650 on it.
Yeah, I would certainly think so. I mean, it definitely has to. I'm not seeing it right off the top of my head, but there's a lot of things listed on here. So
it is there. Computers based on vacuum tubes, 1950s, the IBM 650.
So that means it would have taken us 5, to get there. So there you go.
you're welcome, I guess, for delivering victory. All right, Burgess Meredith.
Thank you. I am so pleased and happy and delighted that you did this for me. I don't know what to say except thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And it just like, if you ever have a situation that you're in where you're trying to navigate through a puzzle of some kind, where you're trying to go from one point to another, and find the exit, like lean on me. I'm right. Like an Adventures in Babysitting. You're trying to navigate
like a giant kind of mess of corridors and paths that don't seem to lead anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you're the one to watch out for. And honestly, what I should do in the future is never trust my instincts, because they are always wrong.
I've been trying to teach you that for six seasons now.
I think I finally get it. But
there you go.
This has been a blasto, and we'll be back next week with more of this good time fun.
Woohoo!
How's that sound?
Woohoo!
Hey everybody, Matt Hartman here again for Drunkard's Walk. Thanks so much to Jesse L.E. for our theme music and Nick Carmio for our artwork. Thanks to you for listening to Drunkard's Walk, of course. We hope you're enjoying this season. It's starting to wrap up here. We got a few more episodes left, though, so we hope you'll stick around. And give us a rating or review if you get a chance to do that. And head on over to patreon.com/drunkardswalkpodcast. Go ahead and join our Patreon and find out all the cool stuff you can get over there. Some archived episodes that you can't find anywhere else, and even some episodes that have never been released publicly. So you can go ahead and check those out as well. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next week.